Hey Fitheads, today we have Ben Rice, a competitive powerlifter, Twitch streamer. He's casually lifted over 700 pounds every week for the past 160 plus weeks. He's really strong and also really insightful.
Yeah, it was a lot of zen
Surprisingly.
for heavy picking up heavy stuff and putting it down. Very zen stuff. Cool thoughts on masculinity, cool thoughts on like your own capabilities and limitations. Great stance on Monster energy drinks. I thought it was really interesting.
Welcome to Total Fitheads.
Serious fitness for not so serious people. Hey Ben, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Heck yeah, so good to see you. Of course, you're in your gorgeous streaming space.
My basement. That's where I live, basically.
Yeah. Would you ever stream anywhere else? I've only ever seen that.
I've done some mobile stuff, but this is where we've ended up basically all the time now.
You're still looking baller these days.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do anything but write the names. It's everybody else who makes it look really cool. So it could look very much less cool if it wasn't for everyone else. So
love it. How long have you been streaming now?
Started in 2017, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, March of 2017. So however long that's been.
Back in the day when it was like only gaming on Twitch, right? There was like sort of
that I was one of the earlier people to switch over to IRL stuff back when that was a category.
So you were doing gaming first?
No, I was making YouTube videos, but then when Twitch like opened up that they had IRL, that was always something I wanted to try, like to stream in general. And I remember actually going through a time when I was like lamenting not having picked up gaming sooner. Like, why'd I waste so much time doing lifting ever since I was 10 years old instead of getting into high level gaming? Because the streaming was the area I wanted to move towards because I thought it was something that just fit and felt right. So, and just kind of got lucky now that I'm able to do it full time.
That's so cool. Born to stream. These days it feels like people force themselves into that because it's only an option, but like that's like what you feel good doing.
That was my end goal. Yeah, the streaming is the live interaction, like short time in between the audience and me felt like my favorite part of what I was doing anyway. All the stuff I used to make on YouTube was less about entertainment and more about trying to like help and connect with people, I guess. And which is funny because now I've added more entertainment type stuff that I do, because like we do the lifting and I do music and I do some gaming and a whole bunch of I try to be the variety, and I know you get that. So
too well, yes. But I mean, people put down entertainment, but that also is a form of helping. I'm sure you get DMs, people being like, you made my day, thank you, I was depressed, or whatever it was. There's nothing wrong with entertaining.
For sure. I guess the style of the stuff that I was making was like more informative, I guess, as opposed to, so when I say helping people, I'm not talking about like mood or how they feel as much as in like, here's advice or here's like that's type of style and direction of what I was doing originally. So
yeah. And are you coaching still? I know.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I still coach.
And is it like, I'm sure you're not doing in person at this point, or?
No, it's always been kind of online in general, but the streaming is just more scalable, and content creation in general is more scalable. I can only like help so many individual athletes one-on-one when it comes to me writing and directly coaching versus, I mean, if I'm making stuff and putting it out there, then it's theoretically an innumerable amount of people can find access to that. So
have you seen any change this past year now that everyone's sort of everybody's working out at home?
Kind of. I mostly work with competitive athletes, and so I actually lost like half my roster because everybody started working out at home, but they don't have access to a gym anymore. So I was writing like programming and coaching for athletes that was that. And a lot of people were like, hey, I can't go to the gym right now, so paying for a strength coach is, not as high on the priority. And I was like, yeah, of course. I don't keep paying a premium fee for that. And I had a few athletes who were like, okay, I'm going to build a home gym now. But a lot of it, when it's like powerlifting centric, you're a little bit more. I guess the requirements are a little bit higher because you need like safe equipment to lift heavier things than would be, I would say, standard general fitness. Like I wouldn't want somebody to get a super discounted barbell that's going to bend if they put it on their shoulders or something. That's not advisable. So
Sure.
Just a broomstick.
Well, I don't know, because it seems like you don't have a leg curl machine. Like your accessory work, I've not seen too much of that. It's not like you need a big box gym. You do 3 things and you do them really well. So that seems like a little less daunting.
Right. It's less about equipping the gym with a bunch of stuff and more about equipping a home gym with stuff that's not going to break or hurt you. Right. Because it's more about like the expected, because you can do body weight calisthenic type movements. If you have a nice set of resistance bands and things to attach them to, I basically can do whatever I want in this space. I can isolate or target any muscle group just by tying something to something else with enough band tension and changing like how far I stand away from it or what angle I'm at, and I can make that happen. So you're only really limited by your creativity. But the biggest issue with like home gyms, for one, everybody started price gouging like equipment. And then like I used to be able to say, if someone said, Ben, what kind of weights should I get for a strength specific home gym? And I would say, go secondhand market. If you're paying more than like 50 cents per pound for the weights that you're getting, you're overpaying.
Those were the days.
And right now I feel like I sound like a crazy person, because if you can get $1.50 per pound or $2 per pound, it's like, oh, someone's being generous to you and basically just giving away their stuff. So
it sounds like grandpa. Okay, grandpa, hamburger for a nickel. Yeah, I remember that too.
In my day. Oh, that's great. Well, I did already want to ask about this. Like, do you ever worry about lifting by yourself? It's always just you there with potential stuff.
I have safeties in place. Like back on the squat rack, sure. I have like, so if you let me see. If you look over there, like in the rack, I have those extended bars that keep me from being like at risk of things. Yeah.
Have you ever like passed out or like just lost the ability to take care of yourself, even though the safeties are there, obviously?
There's a video of me passing out front squatting once. Nice. And I slowed it down.
I'm surprised you was front squat. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I was in like 2011, back before I knew better. But it's not the most effective use of your energy, I would say, for a power lift specifically. So like for general weightlifting and stuff, it can be useful, but for someone who's just you're trading off so many mechanics from a front squat to a low bar squat. The point of failure is probably going to be like your upper back or your core more than it's going to be like the prime movers. And now I have this. So this is a Rogue Rhino like belt squat. So I can load that up and attach a belt, and just if I want to have a lower body like overload kind of thing that isn't a bar on my back, I can load that thing up, and it's pretty cool. So
interesting. So you just wreck your legs without having to worry about
basically you still want to use good form. We do not condone bad technique with any kind of heavy loadings, but the idea is that it takes the pressure off of your core and your joints, like your shoulders, wrists, and elbows, because heavy low bar squatting frequently can cause a bunch of overuse. You have a lot of competitive powerlifters will start to suffer from elbow tendonitis from squatting that then they think is their bench pressing, but it's because the bar sits so low on your shoulders that it'll start to try, like you're having to hold it up there as opposed to a high bar squat where it's kind of just sitting there and you're not holding it as much.
Right. And so like basically all powerlifters are doing low bar.
There are a very small exception, I would say, that do high bar squatting, but it's almost just because that's what they're more used to doing. just from a biomechanical perspective, almost everybody's going to be able to move more weight with a low bar squat. You're shortening the lever length from your hips to where the bar is set, and you're able to like displace the hips back a little bit more, and you're just less limited. So just about everybody would squat more with a slightly lower bar position.
Okay. I know with like good mornings, I know I can move more, and it's like less scary than having it up higher.
Yeah, it's you don't have as much forward displacement of the knee.
Yeah.
It's not like high bar squatting is bad. It's just that in powerlifting, it's not about it's about trying to use the least amount of energy possible to move the most amount of weight possible. It's just a min max system of there's the weight I want to pick up, and I want to pick it up the easiest way that I can so that I can do more of it.
Right. And sometimes that weight is 700 plus pounds every week. Dax, did you see this? He's been doing 700 pounds every week for how many weeks?
We just on Saturday completed week 168. So we're on week 169, which is nice plus 100. So
That's crazy.
Nice.
Ridiculous. What made you start doing that?
I just noticed that I had a few weeks in a row where I'm like, hey, we hit 700 a few weeks in a row. Let's keep doing that. And then it just kind of turned into, yeah, we're just, now it's I displace a whole lot of others. Like if I travel somewhere, I just need to make sure that within a 7-day window, I can get to a gym that has enough weight for me to put on a barbell and just make it happen. And I've just happened to keep it up for now over 3 years.
Yeah, when we met at TwitchCon, you like didn't sleep all night and we're like, uh-oh, I have to move 700 pounds. Let's find a gym. The next
just got to
morning.
do at least one. Yep. It's become the weekly minimum. I can displace every other workout that I have, but by Sunday night at midnight every week, I have to make sure that I've at least moved 700 pounds from the ground to a full locked out deadlift at least once to keep that streak alive. That's
crazy.
And I don't know why I'm doing it other than just felt like the thing to do. So
you can have people flip out on podcasts about it. It's working.
I guess it's nice to have people flip out because so many people that watch me do it every week now kind of become like that's the minimum, right? So a lot of my community gets like excited. That's the weekly minimum. So if I get up into the mid 7s or like 800, then they're like, oh, they might start getting excited about that. But it's like, oh, just 700 again. I'm like, you guys, this is pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, you guys should know it's pretty good.
It's like 7 alleys.
Yeah.
What the heck? So 700 just brushing your teeth now. It's like, yeah, of course you brush your teeth. Like...
Actually, it was pretty we did it on this Saturday, but I had stayed up for like 38 hours the day before, slept for 4, and then was doing the lift 22 hours in because my schedule was so crazy this week. So it was probably one of the sketchiest ones we've done in a long time. And I watched the video back and I'm like, I'm a little annoyed because it felt horrendous. Like it felt like I was just exhausted and could barely move. And it actually moved pretty well. And I was like, what? It's harder than it looks. Okay. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Stop. It's good. So
that's nuts. Wait, so I feel like you have a history of like being a little extra on you're not getting enough sleep.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the thank God for the phrase do as I say, not as I do, because if my athletes tried to survive on the sleep schedule that I do, they'd probably all just break. I guess I'm just conditioned to feel horrible at this point. And like, it's more of the baseline. It's not like, oh, look, I'm so great and can survive this. It's like, no, just being in a place that's not great is become enough of a norm that it doesn't psych me out anymore.
That's ridiculous. So,
yeah.
Do you do any like sleep tracking?
I track that it's not good. I know that more often than not.
It's write down every morning that it sucked.
It kind of comes with the job a little bit, the streaming stuff, since I don't just stream the workouts now since it's so involved. So let's say I've been streaming for, it takes me a while. Like I hang out with people when they come to stream. We talk, we, vibe out, whatever. And if I'm doing a music segment, I bring over the piano and we might do music for, 2 or 3 hours. And the workout might be like the prep for the workout and then the workout itself. That's 2 or 3 hours. If I do any gaming, especially if it's going to be like challenge runs or something, I'm doing something that's not just casually playing through a game and stopping whenever. I might be doing a speed run of a game or a like a deathless challenge. We've been doing that a few times in a few games. So if you die, you have to start over. And so if I'm an hour and a half into playing this game and I just died in the game, I start over. So my streams can start to get longer. And then if somebody comes and raids or something's happening, it's just like, okay, well, I guess we're going to keep rolling with the energy that's on the stream. And so that sometimes turns into unintended extended streams for that. And, you know, my baseline stream is usually like, I would say 8 to 10 hours is pretty normal. And then that can get extended. So
Dang, that's crazy. This is a serious job.
I just like it enough. If I didn't like it as much, then I would find ways to like, okay, we're gonna get this done and I'm gonna move on. It's like I really, really enjoy doing it. So
right. Yeah, and then you get rewarded. You stream longer, that raid turns into more followers, whatever. There's like no reason not to extend and keep putting more into it. Like you're live the grind, isn't that your thing?
That's it. Yeah, live the grind.
But grinding is like what they say about Twitch streamers, right? You just gotta stay on. And
I think there's definitely other ways, like different things like concurrent average viewership would be, I think, higher if I streamed less, because a lot of times someone can, you know, like, oh, Ben's on. Well, Ben's always on. Like, I'm gonna do this other thing. He'll still be there, right? And there's no way that I could reasonably expect anybody to stay for the entirety of the stream. So I have a lot of people that will show up for some time and then head out. So I get a lot of, it's where some people will, you know, their meta, I guess, of how to go about streaming is I'm going to put on a 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 hour show, but like with set time of how that's going to go, so that people can put it in their schedule. I know I'm going to show up for this time, or I miss it and then participate. So I think there's different ways to go about it. And then you can, you know, if you use your other time doing other things, like one reason I lean so hard into streaming is I hated editing videos for YouTube. I just detested the action of video editing. And so I kind of stopped doing that when I found like, oh, I can do the part that I like, the engaging with the audience and the having conversations, and offering that kind of thing, and also doing the things that I'm going to be doing anyway. I'm going to be training. I don't skip that. And I'm going to be doing, you know, music if I want to. And now people can actually be there to watch it. And I don't have to get like the perfection paralysis of like, that's not good enough to upload. So, you know, I can think of it like, oh, it's just a live performance. If it's imperfect, then I can still put it out there.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I get paralysis around the fact that, like, okay, in editing, if I screw up, I have the magic of time travel and we go back and I do it correctly. Whereas you just have to be on. Like,
well, I would, but then the problem is I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go back and do it correctly. And then I'd do it like semi-correctly and be like, but I'd probably do that better. I could do that better. And it's like that's where I would get stuck with the loop, because I've, you know, and then I probably couldn't, right? There might be that ego part that's like, oh, I can go back and do that better. And it's like, no, you can't. You're not good enough to do that better. That's your limit. Stop trying to convince yourself that you're better than you think you are. So, yeah.
That's great. I know I get like worn out though, like emotionally. If I was streaming that long, even like a couple hours afterward, I'm like, whew, okay, I need to recharge or whatever. I don't know. Do you consider yourself an extrovert, introvert? Do you feel that ever?
I absolutely understand when people feel that way, and I think that's what would normally happen. I don't want to put it as in like I don't want to overstate. It doesn't seem to happen to me the way that I think it happens to other people when it comes to if I'm having a bad day or I'm feeling like drained, streaming usually helps me. I get to hang out with the people again. I get to have, you know, conversations and do that. I am pretty introverted, though people don't usually know that. I think I would self-identify as an introvert, and most people would be like, that ain't it. But I think I went through a period in college. I was an RA in college, and I think I burnt out on interpersonal, like in real life, not humans, but just like having to be there as much. And like that, I don't know. When they started introducing all the quarantine lockdown protocols, I'm like, oh, so like the way that I Okay, you know what? I'm well practiced. That's what we'll call it.
You really were ahead of the game. You were living quarantine before anybody knew how.
I'm a Corona hipster at this point, I guess. Like, oh, you guys can't see people. I haven't seen people for 13 years.
Wait, I do want to go back and hear like your origin story. How did you start doing powerlifting?
I was little. I started when I was 10.
You were never little, Ben Rice.
I chunked up real quick. I started lifting in 1999 and started competing in powerlifting in 2005. Like, kind of based my life around that. So I was just a kid, and I'm like, being stronger seems pretty cool. I'm gonna exercise all the time, and like
Is that your
that's
kid
what I
voice?
meant. That's I was pre-puberty right there. Can't. And then now, if I turn off my voice filter, then I just sound like this the whole time, and it's all confusing for everybody. So I just try to stay personable by keeping the voice. This is the approachable Ben as opposed to my real voice. Yeah.
Got it.
No, I just was interested in like getting stronger from a young age, and then I just kind of went all in. And we had a team on our high school team. Like, I was never like great at it when I started. It took a long time before people were like, I basically did it for 10 years before I was like, man, you're so lucky. You're just genetically so strong. And I was like, I've been doing this for 10 years. What are you talking about? So,
yeah, how much do you think genetics plays into it? Or is it really just like, if you put the time in, you'll get there?
I think so. I don't want to deny that genetics can like absolutely does exist. I'm not like a science denier when it comes to that. I think most people have never tried anything being the center focus of their life for over 2 decades. Like, if someone cared about anything as much as I put time into getting stronger, I feel like they'd be a lot better at whatever that thing is after 21 years. But I also think that it's important to recognize that because your genetics are not like a variable that you have access to, like, you can't change that. Not yet anyway, until we get some like weird post adult life gene doping or something. It's not something that you have any agency in affecting. So I try not to dwell on that or even really address it. It's like, yes, it exists. Some people are going to be limited by their genetics. Some people are going to be bolstered by having better genetics in terms of training response or recovery rates, things like that. But putting any energy or dwelling on that isn't going to help you. So putting your energy into the process, making good decisions, not sleeping like I do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, get enough sleep.
So yeah, and luckily because my schedule's not fixed, I can get extra sleep and nap if I need to.
That sleep debt. See, he's making up for it, Mags. So we have so many people on that are like, sleep is the #1 thing that will make you a better human. And when you're talking about getting stronger, I'm like, he must be sleeping like 11, 12 hours a night. And you're like, nope.
I wouldn't say like, because I'm not sure on the science in terms of actual sleep debt and like once it's, if it's gone, you lose it kind of a thing. But if I stay up a little bit longer, in this time, if I need to nap and like rest longer, I am able to get not like 12 hours a night. I've never been able to like run with 12 hours a night. I was sleeping like 4 hours a night all the way through college. But when it comes to, just because I was so busy and was trying to like make do, but when it comes now, it's like I average 6 to 8 in between the times when I'm awake. And so I do try and prioritize it, but I definitely recognize how even like I would run better if I slept more. When I get more sleep regularly, I do feel better. And it's just, I have gotten to the point where my baseline of what I can run on as my low point is, some people would view that as being higher. And it's like, you should see what it'd be like if I slept like a normal person now.
You're like Superman in that shirt.
This is a gift. This is a sweatshirt that I got for Christmas. I like
so
it.
cute.
Thanks. Work out.
Okay, so then if you're working on getting stronger, there's also the nutrition aspect. What are you eating?
Well, I'm a little bit more keyed in on that. I mostly just track my macros and stay within my ranges. Try to get most of my try to get most of the things that I'm getting, like eating from whole food sources, and supplement as little as possible. It's more about time availability. I hate cooking. I absolutely detest it. I derive no pleasure or joy from the action of preparing
Feel
food for
that?
myself. And
Speaking of my
so,
heart.
yeah, that is a little bit difficult, but I am pretty intentional with at least macro numbers and making sure I get that in. And to fit my macros, I can't just be super, super sloppy with all the food choices. So it varies, but it's a pretty flexible diet as long as you're hitting those markers.
Interesting. Yeah, well, if you're saying whole foods, then you can't just make it up with a protein shake,
it's like
right?
someone's like, well, I could just eat Pop-Tarts all I want. It's like, yeah, if you're going to find a way to get 250 grams of protein with just Pop-Tarts, good luck. You're going to have a fun time at the end of the day.
Protein tarts. I hate cooking too. What's frustrating to me about cooking is people are always like, oh man, it's so much easier. It's so much faster. It's so much less expensive. I'm like, well, but there's the time that I had, like, I don't have anymore because I had to go to the grocery store. There's a time to cook. There's a time to do the dishes. Like that's all time and hours that, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm hungry while I'm doing it.
I've heard some people like give me the reason, because I always ask, like, does anybody actually like cooking? And some people are like, oh yeah, it's the
like,
anticipation.
no more joking around now.
Yeah, come on, like, wait, you're all just making this up. I know for me, it turns into, this is something that is in the way of me doing everything else that I want to do. I'm having to stop what I'm doing to solve this problem of my body just keeps needing like energy and fuel. Ugh. Same thing with sleep. I'm like angry about having to sleep. If there was a pill to not ever sleep and have it not completely affect you, I would take it yesterday. It's just, it always feels like it's a block in front of all the stuff that my little ADHD riddled mind wants to get at, and it just is in the way, and that's what cooking is for me. So
yeah, I totally feel that. I would eat the same thing every day. I kind of do, actually. It almost feels freeing though, right? If you have it like dialed in and then you don't have to think about it, that's more thoughts towards the other stuff.
Yeah, willpower and decision making is like an expendable resource. Like the idea that, and by the end of the day, if you've expended all your big choices earlier, that's when people get to the it stage, and they're like, oh, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to have to make choices. I just want to be wherever I'm at. And so I prefer eating the same thing every day. Usually it's other people that I'm around who want to, like, oh, I'm bored of that. And it's like, I don't think I've ever been bored of food. If I liked it the first time, I'd just eat it every day and I'd be fine. But
yeah, Max is like crying inside right now. I know you have trouble with this.
I'm trying to think, have I ever been bored of a food? Because there's been a couple of times where I ate the same thing, lunch and dinner, every single day for months and months at a time. And I think I moved. I was going to this restaurant down the street.
You lose your access. Your dealer got caught. And
What the hell? What happened?
I have to self-supply at this point.
That was so great.
Funny.
Yeah. I'll go in those. If I find something that kind of fits a macro need, I'll be like, oh, this particular Chipotle burrito bowl is like pretty darn close to the things I need. And that's, I put 3 buttons and it shows up and I can still do whatever I need to do in the time. This is magical.
Oh,
lukewarm?
There was a time where I was trying to make my own perfectly portioned macro shake out of mixing Soylent, Quest protein, and bulletproof oil, because I knew, like, if I could mix those all in the right ratio, I could just drink only that. I
think the exit strategy is going to be the real issue there. It's like, oh yeah, just this liquid diet. How's that gonna go?
Well, that came about because I did a Soylent diet for 10 days straight, and just to see what it was like, because they claim that that's can replace food. I will tell you, for me, it could not.
I was say, what were your findings on that?
I made it 10 days. I actually lost weight, but gained fat and lost muscle.
Oh no! I was like, oh, this is the first part. Like, it worked, but I was miserable. It's like, no, it was the wrong kind of thing. I just couldn't sustain.
Kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
Podcast sponsored by Soylent.
Yeah, nope. Everyone chew your food.
Chew it.
Masticating is great.
Yeah.
All right, so when you're a kid and you're like, I want to get stronger, Olympic lifters are stronger. Like, why powerlifting? Did you ever try anything else besides that
I
one front squat?
No, I threw effort like at the wall and saw what, just to see what sticks. It kind of, because I did a bunch of sports and stuff all the way from, from when I was very, very little. Like I was playing like little league and soccer even before that. But I say when I was 10 years old is when I'm like, oh, I'm going to start incorporating weightlifting to get stronger in this. And like I was never great at any of those sports. I was never I would never consider myself to be a gifted athlete, but I just kept doing it for long enough that eventually my average became more like, oh yeah, I can kind of keep up with people now because I've been doing it so long. And there was a time where I was doing a whole lot of a bunch of variety. I did some Olympic lifting, I did some strongman stuff, I did some general strength things. It wasn't always just like cued in. Powerlifting became the main focus in 2005, but that was 6 years after I started exercising, like with weights. So I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. And then during that time, I remember still incorporating a bunch of things. I did cleans. I never really messed around with snatches. My arms are long and I didn't like it all that much. But yeah, I did anything I could think of that would make me a more physically capable person. And then eventually it just kind of, I don't think I would have had access. I would have been pretty young. Like I couldn't have taken a spin class at like 13 or something, but I did a whole lot of stuff. I used to joke that I invented CrossFit by doing a whole bunch of a whole bunch of like goofy stuff and just like, oh, I definitely didn't. Please don't sue me, CrossFit. I didn't come up with your silly stuff.
They're very litigious,
They get me feel very personally about things. No, I just did a variety of different things, and it's as I progressed with the powerlifting, it became more zoomed in on being like, okay, well, at a certain point, you have to just focus in on the thing that is going to be like your main thing, or else you're no longer able to put enough effort towards that to get better because your focus is too spread and the returns diminish on everything else.
Yeah, I think about this all the time. This is such a good lesson in like picking a thing and being real freaking good at it.
Well, there is something to be said for being like good at a bunch of things, but if like the person who's good at a bunch of things will probably lose to the specialist in each individual one of those things.
It's like the definition of CrossFit is like constantly varied movement, which means Ben will always out powerlift you, but I guess they could run faster, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. No, they'd probably run for longer. I'll say
longer.
that.
Okay.
We've done a couple of like I've kind of shifted away from the competitive powerlifting being the only thing I focus on now. So where now I kind of think of myself as like a strength entertainer. So like on stream, we'll do stupid stuff where I'll be like, hey, do not try this. Like train professional. Like this isn't how I got strong. This is something you get strong and then you can do this thing of like, total this amount of weight in under a minute, or starting with no warm-ups. How quickly can you get up to this squat, bench, deadlift total? And I'm doing speed run workouts now where it's like, okay, I'm going to start a timer and it's going to be up here in the corner and I'm going to get this amount of work done as quickly as, it's basically a
video game.
Yeah, speed run.
Well, it's a video game or a chubby kid CrossFit workout. It's like I have a time where it's like I'm going to get through all this stuff, but it just happens to include a, X amount on a deadlift or something.
Interesting.
So.
Oh, crazy. And like, do you ever do any sort of like accessory kind of stuff? I know you said something that isolate, which I would never expect from a power lifter. You're talking about isolating a muscle.
Yeah, accessory movements are accessory to the main focus, right? And it's just something where it's like to shore up a particular weakness that you might have. The goal of powerlifting is to be the best that you can at the squat, the bench, and the dead. And anything that contributes to those positively might take a little bit of extra work. They do a pretty good job of covering a lot of like your whole body. And I do a lot of, I'm pretty mobile for someone my size. I can do like a front split, and I've got a decent,
solid.
I've got a decent like amount of general physical preparedness from just the speed run workouts and stuff like that. We started doing something on stream that we called DGA, or Doom Guy Arms, where I just want to look. So because I've never done like direct isolation arm work for like 21 years in lifting. It was never like a goal of mine. But I told a friend if he got a certain amount of downloads for Raid Shadow Legends, then I'd be like, okay, I'll add an incentive. I'll do a sleeveless stream because I don't think I even own sleeveless shirts. And I'd be more comfortable being shirtless than sleeveless for some. It's a
Do
little
you know
thing
you're
in my
talking
brain.
to?
That is bizarre.
I know it's bizarre because some people will be like, "Oh, you're very strong. Why don't you just not?" I like sleeves. I don't know. I just wear t-shirts. But I said, okay, by the end of the year, so we're trying to cram. I just turn on a bunch of doom music after my main workout, and then I just do a whole bunch of direct arm work now, and just like tack it on to the end of the session. And
And how do you feel?
Miserable. It feels so dumb. Like, what's the point? My arms just feel like I can't do anything afterwards. I'm like, all pumpy. I can't. I want to reach somewhere. I can't go any.
He's mad at the pump.
People do this on purpose. What the heck?
Do it before you go to the beach. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we're just trying to cram 21 years of neglected arm work into 1 year and see how that goes. I don't know. But I get to listen to doom music while I work out, so that's kind of fun, I guess.
So are you writing your own programming? Do you have a coach?
I was self-trained for a long time. When I'm like in a competitive season or anything, because right now all the powerlifting meets shut down. Like they're like no big competitions are happening, and the ones that are still happening are a little bit sketchy because like this whole situation isn't solved yet. It's like, you know what? We're done waiting. We're gonna go lift it anyway. And it's like, well, they haven't like gotten it sorted. Like, you know what? Good enough. Good enough. We're gonna go anyway. So, but when I'm in that, I do work with a coach for like programming, and he handles attempt selection and stuff at meets for me. So, Eric Bodhorn lives in Colorado.
Got it. Okay. And so, yeah, it's just question mark in the future for you until it does get sorted out? Are you not peaking and constantly bulking? Like, what are your plans?
No, I maintain my strength levels, keep working on, there's always little things you can improve on.
Sure.
General strength, the idea of like that deadlift streak is this, I have this baseline of performance expectation that I will never allow myself to dip below if I can help it, kind of a thing. Like I'm gonna keep that up until I can.
80 years old doing it.
Who knows? Like I don't. It
No,
could.
you
Know,
could.
something could happen, and then it's over. But until that happens, I'm gonna give like my best concerted effort to maintain it. I'm more interested in the stream. I think that I do more good in the world, providing something that's not just me going to a competition and I lifted this much weight. Good job, me. Like that's kind of a select thing. But if I'm focusing more on the stream, I get to give more to a group of people, where the competitions for me would be more just for myself, I guess.
Yeah, and you do charity streams too, right?
I've done charity streams on my own channel. I've participated in charity events. This last year we did Lift Together 2020, which was like we all took the risk and said, hey, we're going to all get tested before and after, and we're going to observe these things. But we all met together. There was like 30 of us that went down to Colorado and did a multi-day stream, and we raised like $26,000 for a few different charity organizations, the Equity Alliance and Mental Health and Suicide Prevention. Just spend a few days kind of throwing our bodies away for good causes.
Very cool. Yeah, and how did the Twitch powerlifting competition go?
That was fun. I just commentated. Like I want to continually like downplay my involvement in terms of having made it happen, because I deserve no credit other than I showed up and commentated. That was my contribution, but Anthony and Joe did all the actual work for that, and they did a really good job, and I think that they deserve all the credit in the world. And all the competitors who submitted their videos, that's what made it happen. I literally just sat and talked on camera, which is
That's
like
your thing.
that's what I do. That was literally no cost to me at all. It was a thoroughly enjoyable event. I thought it went well. And that was, yeah.
Doing what you were born to do. Tell me about the little, I don't want to say dance move, the little movement that you do after
The
you're successful.
swag boy.
Yeah, that.
It's the swag boy. It's gonna sound hoity-toity, I think, when I say it, or like performatively. So I don't like how people have a misconception you have to be a big, tough, grumpy boy or big, tough, grumpy girl, I guess, to pick up the heavy thing. What we're doing is ridiculous. You're like, you didn't even take it anywhere. You just picked it up off the ground. You put it right back down. Like, it's one of the most useless things in the world for that. Like, don't act like you just went and fought somebody straight up in a gladiatorial arena. You just picked up the thing. And so it's me kind of pushing back on that instead of having some, I guess, machismo reaction of whatever. I just kind of kick my leg out. It's basically inspired by the Mad TV Stewart. Look what I can do.
Stewart, yeah.
It was kind of like a little tweak out kind of thing of like, you just do this little kick, and then it just turned into a
You're a meme.
Yeah, now it's a little meme thing.
I love it. That's very cool. Yes, to everyone who hasn't seen this happen, go check out his stream. He does this little swag boy, and the audience all knows what's coming.
Yeah, it's just kind of a pushback, I guess. Maybe a self-awareness and trying to not be contributing to some like weird toxically masculine archetype of what it is to be manly and strong, I guess. Like, no, I just want to pick up a heavy thing and be joyful in the action. We do always say before I start a training session, like, gratitude and joy. I get to do this. I choose to do this. I want to do this. No one's forcing me to. I'm not going to a battlefield. This is something that is supposed to be a joyful expression and opportunity. And I try to manifest that and display that. So when I do the sleeping stuff, it's like, don't do as I say, not as I do. But when it comes to how you approach exercise, I think it should be something that is a celebratory, engaging experience that, like, at least for me, I think that's what people can really take away from it.
Oh, I think clearly. I think, in fact, a lot of times when people compare, the only people that would compare sport to battle are people that have never been in battle. People who call
or a
like
bar fight even.
Like the offensive line, they're like, oh, they're in the trenches. It's like, dude, you've never been in a trench. That's not what a trench is like. Stop being ridiculous.
Yeah.
You mentioned the big three. If you could have a big four, or if you could replace one of the three,
get rid of the bench.
Get rid of the bench.
Get rid of the bench.
Really?
Yeah, fat movement. I hate bench pressing, man. It's so dumb. You just lay on your back.
What if you're on the ground and something falls on you and you have to save yourself? You're
then
fully
you arch.
prepared.
Are you gonna be like, is your knee gonna be below your hip, and you're gonna be pushing with your legs, and you're gonna be doing this thing and then turning your elbows in so you reduce the range of motion? It's like, it's such a bad, like, your shoulder's not supposed to do this. So you pull back your scapulas and retract and depress them so that it's in this other thing. Like, this is just such an unnatural movement. And I have long arms, so I'm biased against it. I prefer not to do it. No, it works. I would say some sort of like they seem to be a pretty good test of overall physical capacity to move a thing. Right? The bench, like, all three of them are kind of full body movements, even if they don't seem like it. I don't know if I don't know, maybe like a weighted pull-up or something. Like, we're working on this pressing kind of motion for the upper body. We don't really have the same kind of, pulling motion that, I don't know. They just seem like they're pretty well balanced already just for the three, but it's all arbitrary. Whatever strength metric someone wants to be testing is like, why do we squat to depth? Well, because someone decided, like, this is what depth is, and that's how far you go before you stop pretending you're sitting on an invisible chair and stand back up. Like, they're all silly movements. It's just that we're taking the body through a range of motion under a load. That's all the exercise is.
Do you ever do pull-ups?
I used to do 100 pull-ups every workout.
What?
I used to.
Casual.
You started out not casual. It became pretty casual. So like 4 or 5 days a week, I was doing 100 pull-ups every single workout.
When do you recover? You need a day off to like build actual muscle, or you just keep using it?
Yeah, I'd train 4 or 5 days a week. It's like 2 days where you're like 2 to 3 days where you're not working out. That's recovery.
Okay.
Recovery isn't a fixed variable though, right? It's like you can condition yourself to be able to like handle more volume, and then you can do other things to facilitate or speed up. So like sleeping enough, which sometimes we do, or giving yourself adequate nutrition so that your body is going through that recovery response, staying hydrated, and then making sure that it's not like when you're training, you shouldn't be just completely destroying your entire system every single time, right? Stopping shy of like true muscular failure can be really, really beneficial for getting adequate volume throughout and working with appropriate programming, and with good technique so that you're not overstressing like connective tissue, which is slower to recover. But yeah, with well-designed programming and stuff like that, it's not the most unreasonable thing in the world.
So you're doing 100 pull-ups in sets of 50, or
no,
Sets.
I think my best was
Here we go.
25. 25 strict pull-ups is the most I was ever able to do. I was lighter. I was under 200 pounds at the time. But yeah, I put a whole lot of time into that. And then it would start with like, you know, I wouldn't go to failure on those. 25 was a testing thing, but I would usually do like 10 to 15 and just string them together and keep track throughout the workout. See, you know.
as cool as pull-ups are and as tough guy as pull-ups are, I'll never forget that in grade school, a girl in my class did 30 straight pull-ups as a 40
presidential
pound
test?
fifth grader. Yeah.
Wow.
It was the presidential fit. She kept going, and they were like, "You got it, you're done." And she was like, "No, I think I can keep going." And they're like, "You're good, stop."
What if I just need to get on top of something and I can just do it over and over? Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I remember that test. I just hung there. I was like, cool. Can we get this over with?
I'm still down here. Let me go.
I'm still taking it.
Yeah, right. I knew in that moment that I'm just not a person that does pull-ups. I would never get a pull-up in my life. I just had like written that definition of myself. I mean, I do them now. Obviously, I'm a new person, I guess. But
I'm a new person. I decided this thing. I mean, I do it now, but that's beside the point.
The point is I need to go back in time and be like, guess what, kid? You're going to be yoked later.
You're going to be great someday, kiddo. You're going to be great. They're going to talk about you. It's going to be wonderful.
You need to do 2 in a row. Okay, wait, let's pretend that I don't know anything about powerlifting, even though I'm currently following powerlifting programming. Explain the raw versus like levels of equipping yourself.
So when we talk about raw powerlifting, we're talking about basically unassisted by your worn equipment. Just the most raw form would be you just standing there with no clothes on and picking up the thing under your own ability, right? That's not a competitive thing yet, because progressivism hasn't gotten that far. Okay. Free the pee-pee and the nip, whatever. I don't care.
Because the liberal media.
Yeah. When it comes to different levels of assistive equipment, we're talking about usually it starts with things like covering the knee. So we have knee sleeves, which are neoprene sleeves, or knee wraps, which are a mix of different like elastic and fabric materials. The idea of compressing those joints to allow like almost a spring effect at the bottom. So you go down and it tries to, if the bottom of a squat is your knee in its fullest form of flexion that it's going to be, those wraps or those sleeves are trying to return you back to an extended knee position. And then you have different equipment like squat or bench suits and shirts respectively, which are, if you've ever worn a pair of jeans that were like too tight and you tried to squat and and it stops you, like your pants are like just, nope, I don't go any further than this.
Yeah.
Well, imagine that kind of an effect, but that's the point. So it's something where it's not like the problem. If your jeans stop you, you might blow the crotch out of your jeans if you try to keep pushing past that. But these are like super, super tough materials that allow you like more of that kind of built-in spring effect where you just keep getting down to the bottom of a squat, or a bench press shirt is going to have less material in the pec, so your shoulders are like this. And so as the shirt gets pulled down, it stretches the seam near that armpit or that pec insertion to where it's like they're not even the same lift. To be completely transparent, they feel completely different because you're having to pull the bar down towards your chest to touch your chest so that you can then push the bar off. Equip powerlifting is just it's almost like the difference between running a foot race in track and like doing a NASCAR race. It's like the purpose is the same. We're going around this track, but one of them is you are responsible for moving yourself around the track, and the other one is I'm going to be using this highly sophisticated equipment to facilitate me moving around the track faster with that assistance. Like you're still doing something, you're still working, but the challenge in equip powerlifting is learning how to better use your equipment and maximize its efficiency to get the most out of your gear, basically. And so there's varying different levels of added equipment. So you have just raw powerlifting, which is just you in the bar wearing a singlet for modesty purposes. Then you have powerlifting where they'll have like wraps around your wrists and knee sleeves. Then you have what is called classic raw, which is where those knee sleeves are now knee wraps. Then you can usually wear a belt in all these just for some extra torso rigidity. And then after classic raw, then you have single ply, which is a single layer of these heavy duty equipped material. And then you have multiply, which is like more than one layer of that. And that's basically it.
What's your favorite?
Raw lifting. I did single ply lifting when I was younger. That was like in like Texas State high school powerlifting. It's all single ply. They actually start the kids in pretty much in equipment. And that's what powerlifting used to be. They didn't have a competitive raw division until like, I want to say 2008 or 2009, at least not one that was widely utilized. Everybody just lifted in equipment. But I always just like the idea that like, I can lift that. Let me go put on my pants. Like, no, it's like, I just want to be able to, I would personally be more interested and driven to be able to say that the number that I lifted was a number that I lifted with the fewest amount of asterisks and variables necessary to have done the thing. That doesn't mean I don't have a great amount of respect for the particular challenges and difficulty with equipped powerlifting, but it's just not interesting to me in the same way for my own like pursuit of strength and personal improvement.
Interesting. I mean, you do use a bit of an assistance. I've seen you shotgun monsters.
Yeah, well, that just
doping right there.
That's my favorite thing. I just can't help that.
That's chemical assistance, not
yeah. Actually, energy drinks are not very. I just like the taste. If I was gonna use like the chemical assistance of caffeine, I'd take a caffeine pill. I'm pretty outspoken about like energy drinks. There's like the only reason you should be drinking an energy drink is because you like energy drinks. That's about it. I think this has like 140 milligrams of caffeine.
That would send me out over the moon. I'll do like half a pre-workout scoop. I can't handle more than 100.
Well, like a caffeine pill is 200, and you could break that in half, and you don't get all the extra crap in the bubble gut that you're gonna get from an energy drink. Like carbonated beverages before you're gonna go and exercise just don't seem like a great. It's so crazy to me that they've been marketed so much as like this performance boosting thing. And because I compete in drug tested powerlifting, I don't trust pre-workouts. I don't trust anything. I know so many people who are like, oh, I failed a drug test because my pre-workout had anabolics in it. And it was like, I don't know if you're lying or if they're lying, but now I can't trust anything because you failed the test. And so now I literally don't take pre-workouts. I will have a caffeine pill if I need it. And I drink these because I like the flavor of them. That's pretty much it. And the shotgun is it's exciting, I guess. It's an entertainment thing. Like I never shotgunned anything until it was a monster and was on stream. So
Yeah, that leads us to the one question we ask everyone. I already know the answer to this because we hung out at Twitch. But we always ask people, how do they incorporate drinking in their training?
Never drank. 31 years old, never had a taste of alcohol, so I don't know.
Dang, impressive.
Well, similar to your monster spiel, you know someone's lying when they're like, "Oh, I just really love the taste of this scotch." It's like, no, you don't, dude. You don't, because you wouldn't drink it if it wasn't alcoholic. So like that's a personal pet peeve of mine for sure.
Yeah, I don't like you said impressive. I don't think it's impressive because I've never wanted to drink. Like I've never been compelled or interested in drinking alcohol. When someone's like, if someone was to give me the list of things that they like about it, then I think it comes down to like, you want the I'm assuming it smells horrible to me whenever someone's like intoxicated and I smell their breath. I'm like, yeah, I don't want that. But yeah, I've just never really been interested in drinking alcohol. I'm fine with people drinking alcohol. My girlfriend drinks, like, we have alcohol in the house if she wants to have like a glass of wine with dinner or have a beer. Like I'm not like prudish when it comes to alcohol consumption. I've just never been compelled or interested in it myself.
So it's not even a self-control thing. You're just like, I don't want
no, it's no. I have a few things in my life that are self-control things but alcohol is just not one of them. I've never been compelled to do it. Like I also don't suffer from like a social anxiety or anything. So if someone's like, oh, it's a social lubricant. If you get nervous at parties, it helps me loosen up. Like I've never had a problem with that.
Do you go to parties?
I used to go like,
because that would be quite the hack there.
Yeah, I used to go out with like friends when I was in RA. The RAs would go out to like the bars and stuff, but all the bartenders loved me because I was never belligerent, and they'd just give me like, like, here's some cranberry juice. Thanks for treating me like a person. And I'd be like, you're really pretty. I like your butt, So yeah, that's just it.
So you're not shotgunning monsters with the scoop of pre-workout in that? Have you seen that?
I haven't touched a pre-workout probably since like, I don't think I've had a pre-workout since I stopped being sponsored by a supplement company.
Super smart. Do you know how many milligrams you get a day of caffeine?
Well, I also have ADHD, and my medication is Adderall RX. So I don't want to hyperdose caffeine with a powerful amphetamine salt like Adderall is. But I'll have a caffeine pill before a workout, or like, if I'm starting to drag through a stream. And then the monster, I just kind of, depends. Like
V8?
we have.
What about that?
I'm talking about that right now. Disgust. Why would you do that? All right. Just a second. Pause the podcast. V8 off. I don't know what you are, but you're disgusting and no one likes you. You guys aren't sponsored by like Campbell's or anything, right? It's not even tomato soup. It's just like bad things and demon jizz. That's what V8 is. It's just sadness in a can, and I refuse to touch the stuff again. It's disgusting.
What if you got sponsored? That's your supplement company now is V8.
You know what they would, well, for one, I don't work with companies that I don't believe with their core ideals.
Good answer.
Existing as V8 that's beyond the pale. You might as well be committing war crimes as far as I'm concerned. If they were to sponsor me, my only deal would be they'd have to pay me a lot of money, and I just wouldn't talk about how horrible I think they are. That would be it. You can sponsor me for my silence, V8. I have a bone
deterrent sponsorship.
Yeah.
You need to shut up about them. Where did this start? I just know that you hate it. I didn't know like the origin of this.
It was someone said someone asked on stream like how much money would it cost for you to drink this stuff, and I was dumb and threw out a number, and they met the number, and then that kind of became a thing on stream. And then I was like, okay, but if you want me to drink more than one, it scales proportionally. So it's like exponentially. So every subsequent V8 that I have to drink, you have to double the original, the previous one's price. And so it's like by the time I got to like 5 V8s, it'd be like, like $5,000 for me. I'm like, okay, that'll be worth it. Me drinking a thing I don't like. And one night we had 3 in a row. We called it the night of the V24. And that's when I said, no more. No more. It will. Someone will have to. I will not drink a V8 for less than $1 million anymore, ever in my life again. That is the standing offer. I'll do it for $1 million. That's it. Find me a
V8
new
splashes
basement.
were pretty good.
I'll give you. At least they cover up the disgusting of it.
You've
It's
had?
It's a completely new. It's a completely different drink. It's like
it's
like a
fruit
fruity.
juice.
Yeah,
It's fruit juice that has like a hint of carrot essence
It's
buried
orange.
underneath
Yeah.
all the things. Yeah.
It has as much. Yeah, it's like orange Gatorade is healthy drink. That level of.
Oh yeah. Okay. I mean, it sounds a lot like Clamato. Honestly, that's Max's favorite.
That basically that level. Well, to be fair, it messes me up too. Someone else could drink it and be fine, like, oh, that didn't taste very good. Or some people like it because I don't know, they're bad people maybe. But if I drink it, like there's something in it that I do not know what that messes up my digestive system for a few days, and I'll have a couple of like bathroom visits that are unpleasant and uncomfortable. And that's the night of that V24 where I drank 3 in a row was like, no, that was a bad weekend. And I'm like, do I need to go to the hospital? Like, is this tomato juice or something else? Because I can't tell at this point, but it's uncomfortable and things burn. I don't want it. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome.
No, thanks for I love this kind of stuff, and
You're
talking to cool people is one of my favorite things. So,
and so, how can the Fitheads find you? Send them to your Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch is where I'm the most active by far. I sometimes will post on other things. I have other social media links, but the best way is to twitch.tv, and it's benrice_PLG is the username. So just come by anytime if you want, or don't. It's your life, your choices. It's up to you. We do fitness streams where I'll do my workouts and answer questions 4 days a week. 5 days a week I do music streams, so those are intermixed where I have the piano over and sing songs live, doing requests from a set list, and we play games and just talk about things. And sometimes I give reasonable, balanced opinions on stuff that I think matters, and if it doesn't matter, like something like V8, then I'll go off the rails and tell you why I think it's dumb, and you're a bad person if you like it.
Love it. Okay, thanks. And thank you to the Fitheads. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review. That helps us out a lot. And we'll see you next week.
Woo.